Son? Okay, as we said every week, the class is in memory of Jared Orchen. And today, before we start to learn the parshah, it's actually connected somehow. I want to tell you a little bit about my father, who just passed away. He passed away Tuesday before that. And as I mentioned, everybody in the family, my whole brothers and sisters, 15 of us made it to his bedside, and the other two arrived an hour later, or 2 hours later. The funeral, he passed away 1:30 in the afternoon, and by 7:30 at night, the funeral took place. Hello.
Really? That's organized?
That's the way it's being done. It's like in Israel, you don't wait long. And the good news was that everybody was there for the funeral. We pushed it off. We wanted to do it a little earlier, we pushed it off waiting for my brother from Alaska to arrive. But everybody made it, thank God. I was thinking while I was standing on his bedside that my father, he can live a mile away and not make it when the person passes away. And here was from all over the world, from China and Alaska, everybody made it to be there. Obviously, there is a special schus, there is a special merit to it. My father was born in Romania in 1927. And his father was a sheikhet, the sheikhet of the city. By the age of 12, the Nazis were coming. The Romanians prepared for the Nazis the job. They gathered all the Jews in one house and locked them up. And waiting for the Germans to arrive. The Germans were supposed to arrive that night or the next night. Meanwhile, there was a fight between the guards, and one of them got angry, opened the door, and told all the Jews to run away. That's how my father and his family and his parents, my grandparents, saved their lives. Started to run. They were running over a bridge, and the Germans already arrived and started to bomb the bridge. And some people died, some people were hurt, and they survived. And then they got on the train, started to run towards deep Russia, Uzbekistan. The east, where is it? And they were, like many other Jews from all over Russia, end up in Uzbekistan to run away from the war. In Uzbekistan, my grandfather arrives there with his family. On the way, right there on the way from starvation, his mother died. Now it's only his father. They were looking for something Jewish. The only thing, it was Soviet Union. It was under communism regime. There was no Jewish day schools, there was no synagogue, nothing is allowed. But the Chabad Hasidim in Uzbekistan run away also from the regular cities, from Leningrad, from St. Petersburg, and from Moscow. The Chabad Hasidim, they had underground schools. And actually, my grandfather, from my mother's side, was involved in organizing the underground schools. What means an underground school? There's no classroom with desk and a chalkboard. It's 3 or 4 kids learning in one cellar, the other 3 in a different synagogue, hiding with a person who is risking his life. That my father and his brother, my uncle, were enrolled in these schools, whatever it was. That's how my father was revealed, got to know Chabad. In this city, he never heard about Chabad. It was Hasidic. They were not in a specific Hasidic dynasty. And by the age of 20, they were trying to run many Chabad Hasidim run away from Russia at that time. Many people forged passport. It was after the war. It was in 1947, 48. It was an agreement between the Polish government and the Russian government to allow all the Polish citizens who run away during the war to go back to Poland. Mm-hmm. Many Jews forged papers as Polish citizens and run away from Russia. Then everybody ran away to Chernovitz. That was the city, the border city, Chernovice, I think it's called. Mm-hmm. And my father and a few other boys, but when they came, it was already too late for this system to work. The government put their hand on it and said enough. They knew about it, they allowed it go, and then when they decided enough is enough, that was the end of it. Then somebody came and said that basically one person sent another. A Gentile showed up and said that he can sneak over people. He can move them the border. They'll pay him money. It was a discussion among the Hasidic community to believe him, not to believe him. They sent 3 boys with a teacher to try if it's true. They went on one night, late at night, they were crossing the borders. Lo and behold, he brought them in straight into the hand of the police, of the Romanian police. The Romanian police handed them over back to the Russian border police. They were arrested, and now it started a nightmare. Now in Russia, when you're arrested, the number one thing they want to know is more names. Who else? Who told you? Where were you sleeping? Who organized it? Who paid for it? Who and who and who? My father decided he's not telling anybody's name. From his mouth will not come out a name. That they used to take him out from... How weird the story is. Many of the stories weird just by the shiva from another family that the father was involved in it. Actually, the father was the one who made the decision to send them out. Then he says he was also arrested. Eventually, one of the boys gave out his name and he was arrested. Then one day he was sitting in his jail cell, and a new inmate is put in his cell. Start to talk. He tells him, "You must be this and this person." He says, "How you know me?" He was afraid maybe they put him in to find out secrets. He says, "No, I was in the jail cell with Moshe Greenberg, and he described you so well that I know it's you." And he tells them, "This Moshe Greenberg is the hero of your people. He's unbelievable." He says they take him out every night for interrogation at night. He comes back in the morning bleeding, but he doesn't give out any name. And the other Gentile was a lawyer. That my father used to ask him advice how to lie and how to make up stories, not to give out any names. My father himself told me that the way they used to interrogate him, was a long table in a room, and one side used to sit the interrogator, the other side used to sit the prisoner, in a big strong projector used to be on the prisoner's face. Now the moment if they read you a list of 80 names, 3 names you know, the rest of them you don't know, your face will change. Mm-hmm. And when they see this little drink, they start to drive you crazy. You know him. But my father told me he used to think Tanya. He knew Tanya by heart. And he learned the Tanya, it's like Talmud, the Chassidus. He was thinking Chassidus in his mind, and he didn't hear anything. And the interrogator used to scream at them, you don't hear what I'm talking to you. Beat them up. He says, I hear. But he really didn't hear. He didn't hear any name. Because the moment he will hear the name, he will give in. But that cost him bitter, this business of not saying any names. The interrogator was a Jew with the name Yudkin. How we know his name? 2 hours before the funeral, I have a brother-in-law and a sister who live in Odessa. For 18 years they tried to get the file. 2 hours before the funeral, they got the file of the whole interrogation, 250 pages with everybody. Then he signs the Yudkin. He's a Jewish guy. A Jewish man was the one who interrogated them and beat them up. Obviously a communist, but it was a Jewish guy. After, I think, 8 or 9 months of interrogation, the one time they took him to the synagogue. The 2 guys to aside, and they wanted to, he should see everybody walks into the synagogue, to this underground synagogue that the government knew about, and he will recognize the people. Oh, what's his name? What's this guy's name? And my father doesn't know anybody. Another Jew told once my brother many years ago, he told him, "Oh, you're the son of Moshe Greenberg, come, I'll tell you something." He calls his wife, he says, "You remember the story?" They were afraid. They saw my father standing with 2 people in front of not far from the synagogue. They knew they were afraid right after there would be many arrests. Nobody was arrested because my father didn't know anybody. He never heard, he never saw, he's not Chabad, he doesn't know, and finished. And my father was obviously a very stubborn man. He used to say what he prays for his children, they should get some of his stubbornness. Because that's the only way to survive as a Jew. If you're not the non-stubborn didn't survive. Only the stubborn survived. After many months of interrogations and very, very torturing my father never told us the story because once he heard somebody else telling stories, he told them, "Why are you telling it to your children? What do you need them to to hear this. I heard from one of my younger brothers that once he told a story Friday night, and my mother came in the morning. She said, "He talked to you yesterday about this jail experience?" She said, "Yes," because they didn't sleep all night. Just to come back to him, all the memories. I remember once walking with him in the office building, and it was a dark hallway, many doors. He tells me, "I have to get out of here." It reminds me, gives me bad memories. You look in the court. It was a court case. He wasn't there. 3 judges were. The judge writes like this: this guy's a traitor. He deserves the death. I wanted to give him the death sentence, but because Stalin outlawed the death sentence a month before, it was no capital punishment like a few months before, obviously before it was the court case. Then I have no choice but to give him 25 years in a labor camp. That he was sent for 25 years to Omsk, to Siberia, to be in a labor camp. No. You come to a labor camp. My father made a decision that is going to be a Jew evening camp. What does this mean? He's not going to work on Shabbat. He has to work every day. Saturday, now the law in jail is if you don't go out to work, fine. You get 5 days solitary confinement. Saturday didn't go out to work. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 5 days in solitary confinement. A little loch in Sibir and cement. It's like sitting in a freezer. That would be the best way to put it. 5 days you're there. Thursday, Friday goes out to work. Saturday again, he doesn't go out to work. They take him back for solitary confinement. Like this it was for almost 2 years. 2 years. He got so sick that they took him to the hospital, to the camp hospital, to the jail hospital. There's some doctors at Rachmanas of him, a 20-year-old boy, and he's so sick that they sent from home some type of shots. Basically, in a miraculous way, he recovered. Then somebody in the shiva told us, came and he said, somebody who met the boys who came out from jail, he was the one who gave it him. He says his friend told the story. And after he came out from the hospital, I never understood what changed. He started to go to work. Hello. He started to go to work, but going out Saturday to work, but he didn't work. And this man told us, and the shiva, that the mafia in jail had respect for my father because he's one guy who lives up to his beliefs. And they told them, you go out to work, we will make sure you don't work. They control the place, like the mafias. And this guy told us also, he was an old man already, was my father's age, he told us that whenever they had a fight, he used to come to my father to judge them. Like he should be the judge. He should do it because he was honest and straight, and he says it as it is and no chokhmas. Then my father started to go out to work, but how you go out to work and you remember that Shabbos, he used to go, it's a big place, it's a labor camp. He used to run, go fast, like he's going, where are you going? I'm going to bring something from this side. And to himself, he used to say to himself, Shabbos, 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 remind himself that it's Shabbos. Go from side to side. And once one of the inmates, one of the prisoners told him, I need your help, come help me. He told him, I would help you, but it's Shabbos. But this guy tells him, I'm sorry that I asked you. Everybody in camp know that there were other religious boys. Everybody worked on Shabbat. It was okay. It was by Jewish law, you're not allowed not to put yourself in such risk. But my father made the decision he's not going to do it. Then came the second problem, to keep kosher. Now, what was the food in jail? Jail was you get 600 gram bread. By the way, if in solitary confinement you get 300 gram bread. My father told one of my brothers that when he was in solitary confinement, he was so skinny he was able to see his food going in. Everything. That's how it was. And the 600 gram bread, water, and soup. The soup is not kosher. They put meat in it a little bit. They throw a few bones. My father used to trade the soup with all the prisoners. They used to get from home sugar. Sugar is sugar. It's kosher. To get sugar. What do you used to collect the sugar? For Pesach. Pesach, you don't have matzah. You cannot eat bread. My father decided not to eat bread. That he used to survive a whole Pesach on sugar and water. And once he told the story, Then one Pesach, this calculation was wrong. He started Pesach a day early. That he ended up to end 8 days. After 8 days, was still a day earlier. And only when he came out of prison, he discovered it. And I think my brother-in-law asked him, "What is the things that you regret from jail?" He told him that I missed 1 day of Pesach. And when he said it 50 years later, he was crying. That was he missed a day. Then he kept kosher and he was stubborn about it. Again, it was no matter what, no matter how. Then one of my younger brothers asked him once, "Why you did it? I mean, by Jewish law, you have not only you're allowed, you probably have to eat because you're not allowed to die." That he told them like this. He says, "I knew that nobody survives 25 years in the prison. Then any I will die. Then why should I die after nothing kosher? I'll die before I die." Then my brother is asking him, "If this is the case, why your friend didn't do it?" He told him, "Such a calculation you need to know how to do. You have to be on this level to make this kind of this kind of understanding, this calculation better to die." In any case, after 6.5 years, God helped and Stalin died. And Stalin died, they decided to release all the all the political prisoners. That they made a court case again, we see now in the files, and instead of a traitor, he was considered somebody who tries to run away from the country. And for this is the punishment only 3 years. And he was already sitting 6.5 years that he can be released. What my father took with him from jail, the only thing he took with him was a handwritten Mauser. My father, when he was in jail, the regular services you can remember. Obviously, he did not have film, and he did not have a talis, and not have a seder, and Pesach he didn't need maror. He had maror holy. He didn't need Pesach maror, and no matzah. Whatever you have to do, he couldn't have. No lulav, no nothing. But whatever depends on you, he can do. And he decided he needs a Mauser. And in the labor camp, he saw an engineer. They looked to him. A guy. He looked at him Jewish. Decided to go. But are you start to talk? Maybe he's not. He threw a few words in Yiddish. And he saw, if we'll see, the blink in his eye. My father was already a professional in these things. He said to him, "Was machst du?" Something like that. "How are you?" This guy said, "You're Jewish?" He said, "Yes." He says, "We are here 20 Jewish boys. We would like to daven on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, but you don't have a book. You don't have a prayer book, a Mauser. Can you?" He says, "You see, I'll try what to do." This guy was not religious. He was a communist. Now, from his point of view, he's a guy who comes from outside to work there. If he's caught helping a prisoner in Jewish things, he would go to jail in a minute. He comes a few days later, my father passes by, he says, "No, what's going on?" I told him, "I have good news and bad news. The good news is my girlfriend's father has a siddur. His girlfriend is also not religious, but her father he has a Mauser. The bad news is, when she wanted to take it away from him, he started to yell at her, 'Not enough that you gave up on Judaism. You want to make me like this too? You take away from me my book, my prayer book. Then I don't have a book for you.' Father goes around for a few days. He comes back. He says, 'I have an idea. Tell him, sneak in the book. We'll borrow it. I'll copy it on a notebook. I'll handwrite it. And before the holidays, I'll give it to you back.' My father called under some big wood. They were standing there. There was a building place. Every day for a few hours. And he wrote the Mauser in Hebrew. With the vowels. Every word is vowels. With the vowels. Now, it looks like handwriting of somebody who's sitting in an office. You wouldn't believe that this man is sitting cold under something and he's doing it. And the prayer book has different type of ink, different pens. He had some pens already faded, some pages faded, some pages are clear. You see in the pages that are clear, you can see that he went back to do the vowels because the vowels are in a different color pen. He wrote down the whole Mauser for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the whole thing. And he gave him back. And then on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, they bribed the guards and they gathered together. And my father read loud and everybody repeated after him. But one page was missing. The Kol Nidre page. From the book it was missing. And nobody was able to remember this prayer. If I give a test for 100 religious people, nobody will remember Kol Nidre with all the words. Maybe a Chazan who chanted 50 times before that and after that. but it's in Aramaic, it's words that you don't say, or you say once a year, you don't remember. You say 3 times, but once a year. And they prayed. Then when he left the jail, he took with him the prayer book, this Mauser. Came out from jail, he was 27 years old. He came to Moscow. At that time, his family was in Moscow. And there he met my mother, and they got married. 6 months after he came out from jail. Many people said, you're marrying a prisoner, a guy who's not legal, who's not kosher, who's in trouble with the government. But that time were very few religious boys and religious girls, and that was, and they came, they got married, and they had in Russia 6 children. I was the youngest to be born in Russia. And when they born to find a job even in Russia, my father was also a shochet in Russia. He learned the job maybe from his father, maybe later, and it wasn't his job. Nobody made a living from being a shochet in Russia. He had a regular job, but that was like a mitzvah he did in the afternoon. And the jobs he had to find every time, the job that you don't work on Shabbat was very, very hard to live there, obviously. When I was a baby, after my bris, my grandparents who lived next door to us got the permit to leave Russia in 1967. 1966 they left Russia. That was a miracle. Anybody from Russia knows that in 1966 to get a permit to leave Russia is an unbelievable thing. Nobody got. Why they got the permit? Why my grandparents got the permission? Because they were like an enclave, like a group of religious families, and they gave trouble to the Gabbai in the shul in Moscow. Because in Moscow was one synagogue open, because the government wanted to show that we are not against religion, we are all for religion, we are for it. Then all the shuls and all the mikvahs, everything they destroyed, but they left the great synagogue open for tourists. And people used to come here to say, you see, only a few old people want to religion, no young people want Judaism here, nobody wants it, nobody cares. That there never was a big event like a 1st of May, when is the big...
May Day.
May Day, that's the communist big day.
Yeah.
Used to make a special event in the synagogue and used to invite dignitaries, Jewish and not Jewish. My grandfather used to take his kids and his nephews and his grandchildren, and like 15 kids from the age of 3, 4 to the age of 18, he used to come bring in the synagogue, send them up on the beam with prayer books, tell them, I want you to pray loud. He wanted to make a point that there is young children. The Gabbai couldn't handle it. He used to beat them up, but he couldn't do it in public. He used to try to push them down. And this Gabbai decided to get rid of my grandfather. He went to Ovir, to the officer, says, just send them out, troublemakers. You don't need. But that was not enough. My grandfather was fighting with the government there. He met with the highest levels, and he wrote a whole book, my grandfather. My grandfather left Russia a day after my bris. Then my parents were left there with 6 children. That my mother took me in Russia at that time. There was a lot of respect for women who have children. Stalin made a campaign after the war to replenish Russia to have more people, because he killed so many people that we needed new people. And at that time was a big campaign that my mother took me, and she used to go to the government offices to fight for a visa to get out of Russia for a permit. My mother, when she was at my daughter's wedding 4 months ago, and she saw it, she told me later, she was thinking, who would believe, and she was running around with me in the offices, that we will be in this stage in life. They used to wish each other, Moshe will come and we'll go out from Russia. That's how far-fetched was the whole idea of going out from Russia. They came out from Russia, they came to Israel. And then my father went to live in Bnei Brak, because my grandparents also lived in Bnei Brak. He joined them. And my father, somebody found him, somebody who wanted to do a mitzvah, taught my father the job of being a diamond cutter. Not a cutter, but more making it, beautifying the diamond, making it a little... polishing the diamond. And that was my father's job. And then finally, that he learned the profession in one place, then finally he found a place that hired them. And he bought a house in Bnei Brak, and he started to live his life there. Usually, many times, people who in Russia had a lot of courage to fight for their Judaism came to Israel and relaxed, time to retire. My father was not from this kind of guys. That he started to do, at that time the Rebbe started to speak about outreach. Then my father went strong he started to be involved in it. And it was very connected to the Rebbe. And right the next year, the Rebbe invited all the Russian Jews who came out from Russia, the Hasidic Russian Jews, to come to the high holidays to him. He sent them the tickets, he paid their tickets, he made them. And then there were 30 people that were standing around the Rebbe for the shofar blowing, for the Sabrengens, that you see still pictures of my father standing literally very close to the Rebbe there. And he used to, in his job, that's polishing diamonds, it's a machine, you see there, and my father used to fall asleep many times because he had many babies, he used to get up in the middle of the night and running around. And one, the boss calls him and tells him, I'll have to fire you, we heard the story in the Shiva from the bookkeeper, that my father tells him, before I asked the Rebbe before I took the job, if I have to leave, I have to ask the Rebbe permission, not you. The guy heard it, sent him away, go. And little by that time, in 1970s, Russian Jews started to go out from Russia, especially from Uzbekistan, Bukharian Jews, and Georgian Jews. And they came to Israel, and the Rebbe said, we have to give them jobs. He spoke about it. There is many Russian Jews have to. My father goes to his boss, and he tells him, he's in Kiryat. My father lived in Leibach. They were in Kiryat Malachi. There were a lot of Russian Jews. Maybe you open a factory in Kiryat Malachi. You can pay them even less, maybe, but you give them a job. He looks at my father and says, if you will be the manager, we'll do it. My father said, okay. From Bnei Brak to Kiryat Malachi with the bosses took 2 hours every day. Every way. 2 hours one way. It was my father used to come home 10 o'clock at night, not a happy guy. But he used to be there and used to teach these guys how to code the diamonds, how to do it. It was a very hard job because he spoke Russian that he was able to talk to them. And one day he used to go in the morning to the factory in Bnei Brak, take the diamonds with him, travel to Kiryat Malachi every day, fold up everything, go on the bus, come back there, bring the diamonds, and then come home. And he used to, one day he comes, they discover diamonds are being stolen somewhere. And they blamed the factory in Kiryat Malachi. They are stealing the diamonds, these Russians, this. End up to be, years later, it was not true. But somebody in the office there, in the main office, was stealing. And they made a big meeting, and everybody was screaming, this business is anyway in Kiryat Malachi, in the factory is not working, it's not worth it, let's close it down. Then the boss said, tomorrow morning will be the final decision. My father comes home. What is a chassid doing who is in such trouble? He writes a letter to the Rebbe, sits down, writes a letter. And we write a letter, we try to make it, we used to write to the Rebbe without any mistakes. He writes one mistake, another time. He says, I'll wait a few hours. 12 o'clock at night, he sat down, he wrote the letter, puts it in an envelope, he tells my mother, send it tomorrow. Comes the next morning, there's a big meeting. Everybody's talking, everybody's screaming. The meeting is over. The boss tells everybody, I want everybody to leave, I need to talk to Moshe something. He says to him, last night I was so angry, I was so upset, there was so much money lost. He says he was biting his nails and hitting his head in the wall. He went crazy. He couldn't fall asleep. Finally he fell asleep, he had a dream. That he was on Eastern Parkway, and the Rebbe is driving, is in a car, stops the car and invites him to the car, and gives him like a little glare on his face. He woke up, he tells my father, we will leave at the factory open for now. By Hasidim was always believed that when you send a letter, the moment you wrote the letter, it's like a computer. It works. It doesn't have to even make it there. The letter was sent as it's supposed to be sent. But the answer was answered right away on the spot. Because the moment you make the connection to the tzaddik, you made it to God, Hashem helps you. Right away the answers. And this kind of a person was my father in his whole life. It was like, this boss used to say that my father is the mezuzah of his business. Therefore, he used to keep him there, not for. And later, my father used to travel to the Rebbe every year. He used to give him half of the ticket. He used to sponsor him half of the ticket to New York. Besides, he used to give him the salary of this month. He used to pay him the salary no matter what, even if he wasn't by the Rebbe a whole month, until the factory closed down. Sure, the factory closed down. My father didn't have a job for a few years. Finally, somebody found him a Chabad rabbi, found him a job in the hospital Icholov to be a mashgiach, to supervise the kitchen, should be kosher. A month later, the guy who got him the job calls the rabbi, tells him, what is this with this Greenberg? He tells me he's leaving. He just started the job a month ago. He's going to the Rebbe for a month. This Chabad rabbi knows my father. Says, no, you told him that? He says, yes, nobody said. He says, he told me, yeah job, no job, I'm going to the Rebbe. And it was a man who lived by his faith. The world didn't influence him. He wasn't impressed by what's going to be. He used to tell me every time. He used to tell me, you're not worried, how are you going to make this? He used to tell me, I survived the war, World War II. I was in jail. I was never thought I will ever come out of jail. When I came out from jail, I never thought I'll go out from Russia. I'm here in Israel. He says, I should worry? I'll let God worry. He's doing a much better job than me. When he came in 1973, he took the Mauser that he took from jail, he gave it to the Rebbe as a present. The Rebbe kept it, usually the Rebbe at the library. In his office, the Rebbe didn't keep anything. He got a book, sent it to the library, everything. This Mauser, the Rebbe kept in his room until the Rebbe passed away. It was in his room. My brother told me a story. He says, when the Rebbe passed away, he wanted to go to New York right away. My brother, he was 13 or 15. But he doesn't have a passport, he doesn't have a visa. My father told him, come, I'll go with you. They go to the office there and get a passport, they fill up the form. You'll have to wait 2 weeks, but expedited 3 days. My father said, just sit here, don't worry. My father used to love to say Book of Psalms, constantly said Psalms. He says Psalms, an hour and a half later, they come with the passport, they give him in his hand. They go to the visa, to the embassy. They go there. My father tells them the same story. It's taking a few days, this. But then don't worry, he says. The next day, my brother was on the plane coming to New York. What I learned from my father more than everything is the level of faith that a person should have. It's a person that you have faith in God and strong faith, and you never predict the bad side. Father never allowed us to say, but if it's not going to work, who asked you to if? It's going to work. Never, maybe not. No maybes. There is no maybes in his world. It's going to work. The Rebbe used to say many times, think good and for sure will be good. And this is the hardest job, is to think good, because in our mind, it's like the mind is driving us crazy. To speak good is a little easier because you control your mouth, you don't talk. To think, there is no moment that you don't think. Then to think only positive thoughts, that's why I said many times that with my father, the conversations were very short. I call them. If you have nothing good to say, then you better don't say it. For sure not gossiping about others, forget about it. Then how are you? Baruch Hashem. How are you? Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. How many times can you say Baruch Hashem? Go. He's throwing up the phone. He didn't even give my mother the phone. He's done. It's a waste of money talking on the phone from America, right? Then the conversations were very short and to the point. You're doing well, Baruch Hashem. My father, besides this, was afraid of an evil eye, He never wanted, in the weddings of my brothers and sisters, he was always happy that a few cannot show up. He told my sister, oh, you're praying, you're supposed to have a baby. Stay home, it's okay, you'll come to the next wedding. He didn't want everybody to show, oh, the whole family is here. He was very worried about these things. He never wanted to talk with people. He used to ask him, how many children you have? He used to say, why you need to know? You need to support them. My father's favorite story was, and because he experienced it, the story there is about a father sitting with 10 children around the table. He's asking from the oldest child, bring me a cup of water. The oldest one turns to the second one. He tells them, I give you the mitzvah. Goes around the table, everybody gives the other one the mitzvah. The youngest one comes, he says, Father, if it's such a big mitzvah, do it yourself. That my father had experienced, and it's interesting, we were now by the Shiva sitting together. It was the same story, the same fights. You go, you do it. It was like nothing changed. 4 years passed, and it was the same siblings who were fighting as young kids will continue to fight now the same way exactly. Then the parshas of this week are called Matot and Masei. Matot means, here it means the head of the tribes. Mate could mean a tribe, but Mate also has a meaning of a staff, unbendable staff. Masei means traveling. It's the journeys of the Jewish people in the desert. The two names of the parshas really reflects my father's life. On one hand, he was unbendable. I never met a more stubborn guy than my father. The only one who were able to bend them are his kids. But only in very minor things. He made up his mind, he can talk to the walls, he doesn't even hear you. And also, what people will say, what people will think, and people laugh at you, all of this he didn't even see, he didn't even hear, he didn't even know what you're talking to him. Material things were not important to him, he's always happy, always there. And it's interesting, many famous rabbis came to offer condolences who knew my father, that somebody pointed out, he says, usually a person who is stubborn, fights for Judaism, is usually an angry person, he's ready to go. My father was a very happy person, always optimistic, always upbeat. Nothing brings him down. Mas'ei means traveling. My father's hallmark was he used to travel every year to the Rebbe for the holidays, for the whole month. For the whole month of the holidays, from Rosh Hashanah till after Simchas Torah, he was not home. And my father was a guy who never ate it in other places, in other people's houses. In my house, he didn't eat meat. Kosher enough. He didn't eat in my house. He only eats from his own, from his specific shaychet that he knows. What do you need? A few cookies, a piece of bread, water. He's done. The meal is over. and in this way, he was a whole month in New York, not eating normal. He used to come in the morning to the synagogue. He used to sit there until the evening. He has no job, he has nowhere to go, no family, nobody's there. And every year he has to take one of the children with him. He has to bring one of his kids. I took me when I was 12 in 1977. I was by the Rebbe the first time. Later he sent us all one away. He said, you go to the Rebbe. And his whole attitude was, he used to tell the Rebbe, he used to be in one year to marry for one of his children, he used to write to the Rebbe that I sent my son to you. He's so many years, he's like the Rebbe's child. Now, the Rebbe should make sure that he's finding a good shidduch. He basically give him a blessing that everything should work out. And it worked out! One way or another, it worked. Once somebody, was a Russian Jew, went from Israel to New York, and to the Rebbe, and he needs somebody to write for him the letter to the Rebbe, that my father wrote for him the letter. He just wrote. The Rebbe opened, it was a private order, at the time it was private order, the Rebbe opened the letter, the Rebbe says, this is the handwriting of Moshe ben Rachel. The Rebbe wrote, how many letters the Rebbe read? Thousands. I remember the bags used to come to the office. The mailman used to deliver a bag, a sack, every day. The Rebbe he remembered his handwriting. This guy asked the Rebbe, what should I do about this issue? The Rebbe tells him, ask Moshe ben Rachel. He will help you. What about this issue? Ask Moshe ben Rachel. Finally, the guy says, Moshe ben Rachel can do everything? The Rebbe tells him, yeah, Moshe ben Rachel can do everything. Go. He will take care of you. And I think, when we grew up, my father, I remember in Israel, Erev Pesach, we spoke about the Shabbos. Everybody's busy. My father used to go out and give matzahs to people in hospitals, or Hanukkah. Then when we grew up and we started to go all over the world, my father never complained, he actually was happy. That he had his grandchildren on Skype, but he was there before Skype was really existing. And he barely met his grandchildren, barely saw his children. They were never around them. They were always from far. My father traveled everywhere when it was a wedding, a bar mitzvah, a bris. He was by me for a bris for my son Sholem. He came, and I remember from the calling from the hospital, I called my parents, I don't buy a ticket, and come to the bris, I want you to be there. My father came, and I bought him before Shabbos, it was the middle of the winter, and it was a snowstorm, and he actually he made it to the bris. He made it to the right time and the right place. And the same thing, he came to my brother's weddings, other weddings. He was everywhere. Whenever I need to go, he never complained. My parents came, he never knew that they travel. I'm traveling, for 2 weeks later, I'm kvetching and kechzing. I'm tired, I'm this. They were never tired, they were never this. They put them on the plane, they're sitting, they're getting up. No questions, no discussions. But I remember once my father came from here, from Cleveland, and another Chabad rabbi came from Cleveland, from a New York guy. He came for the GA, he was the General Assembly in Cleveland, like 10 years ago, I don't remember maybe. Well, and he took my father from the airport to Crown Heights. He tells my father, oh, I heard about your son, such great things, and this. My father says nothing. I heard that finally the guy is trying to praise. My father says nothing. He tells him, what will make you happy? If I'll tell you that your son learned the whole Talmud by heart, will make you happy? He said, no, if you tell me that he's a God-fearing man, that's what makes me happy. That was his view on life. It was the job of a human being is here to serve God. It's not about you. It was never about my father. That's why he never told stories about himself, because it was not about them. The issue has to be accomplished. If you can do it, go ahead. If it's not about I need my part. There were people out that generation were people from a different makeup. And therefore, I believe that Hashem paid them back. There is an expression: Hashem never left indebted to people. If you do a good deed, one way or another, God is going to pay you. That when it came time to be around before he died, the whole family was around his bed. This is really, it took a miracle to took place there. Everybody was catching another plane from another place. I barely made it. My brothers were even worse. My brother from Alaska arrived 5 o'clock in the airport, and 7:30 was the funeral. He goes out in the airport and he's looking to exchange money because some Chabad guy saw him. My brother didn't know that my father died. He was on the plane. Then he came over to him and gives him money. He tells him, run, they need you there already. And he made it right before the funeral. The funeral took place the same night, and we went to Jerusalem, and he was buried the same night. 12 o'clock at night we came home. The burial was at night, everything was at night. That's how in Israel you do everything fast. And then we were sitting Shiva, a lot of people, hundreds of people came, and every new face that walked in, we asked him, for who you coming? Oh, I'm coming for China, I'm coming for Alaska, I'm coming for Germany, everyone, for my sisters, for my brothers. Literally everyone came from a different... and my brother from China, surprised, he had like hundreds of people who visited China, Israelis who visited China, who were in Chabad house, came to pay condolences because it was all over the Israeli media. It made it to Fox News, it made it all over here. But, and many people came. By the 8th day, the custom in Chabad, by the 8th day, you do the stone setting. And by us, in religious world, on the stone, you don't just write the name. Here you write the name of the bird, the name of that, and that's it. You write the good deeds that the person did. That on one end, you don't overdo it, because then, if it's not true, in heaven they might demand from them for why they wrote on your stone that you did this and this. On the other hand, you write what he did because it's like a defending in heaven for him. Then we had to work on during the Shiva what to write. By the 8th day was the sun setting, and we had this. It was on Wednesday was the sun setting, and Wednesday night we all took off. And my mother stayed in Israel. We have a few siblings in Israel, but it's harder there. It was the whole week of the Shiva was like one big party. You can imagine, only the brothers and sisters. We were laughing, and we felt guilty for laughing then. But we heard there was a Hasidic rabbi who told somebody came to him and he asked him, "Is your wife sitting Shiva?" He said, "Yes." "Where is she sitting, with the family?" He said, "No, everybody was laughing there. She left. She wanted to sit by herself." He told her, "Go back." When they're laughing downstairs, they're laughing upstairs. It means when there is, and therefore there is an interesting law about mourning. We are now in the 3 weeks of the mourning between 17th of Tammuz and Tisha B'Av, right? And some people take it very seriously. Some people comes to the mourning laws, but in the Jewish law about when a mourner, you go by the lenient opinion. Usually you go by the majority opinion. If the majority says you have to do A, and the minority in one opinion says B, we go by the majority, right? That's Jewish law, that's in the Talmud. Comes to the laws of mourners, we go by the lenient opinion. Why? The Rebbe once said something very interesting. He says when you go by the lenient opinion downstairs, they go by the lenient opinion upstairs. In heaven there is also a judgment, and there is angels who are on the right side and angels who are on the left side. Then even there is one angel, Malach Echad Melitz, one good angel that defends the person. Because we go by the one person who was on the lenient side, they also go upstairs by the lenient side. That's what the Rebbe said. That's why even that you see Shiva, first of all, Shabbat we didn't see Shiva, because Shabbat you're not allowed to mourn. But it's also, when you start to prepare for Shabbat, you daven Mincha, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, you fold up this whole business and you start to prepare yourself for Shabbat, and you celebrate with all the whole family. We were singing Shabbat songs, and it was a very comforting feeling to have everybody. We were never together. Maybe once we were together, all of us. Never exists such a thing, it's an opportunity that everybody was there. But everybody was together and gave comfort to each other, and we were thinking about, besides what my father himself in his life accomplished, that is through his children, there was a ad, it was in the main newspaper in Israel was an article about it, and it was written, the title was, "The Rabbi Who Conquered the World."
Yeah.
If you go and Ynet, you'll see it, they translate it in English too. The Rabbi conquered, because through his children, he went from side to side. We are in 14 different communities around the world, in Germany. You name the country, join my family and to the world. If you guys want to go anywhere, you're more than welcome. Anywhere you can go.
Wow. So you put on a stone the Rabbi Who Conquered the World?
No.
What did you say?
There was the title and in a newspaper.
Oh, okay.
No, we didn't write it on the stone. On the stone you write things that he did. We write that he gave his life for the observing the laws of Shabbat and kashrus and kosher. Then we wrote that he was a chassid of the Rebbe. We write the Rebbe's name because it's a connection on a spiritual level. And we wrote that my father wrote the Chabad outreach, like the Chabad office in Bnei Brak was my father established that and run it. Then he was the head of the Chabad. He was the Chabad shliach in Bnei Brak, so to speak. That we wrote this, and there was a Chabad cheder in Bnei Brak, a small school, and my father kept it alive, kept it going. First of all with his children, but more than that, used to fundraise for the cheder, and that was his life. And then we wrote that he merited that many of his children are Chabad rabbis all over the world.
You didn't mention the Mauser.
No, you don't write details because then you'll have to write next page.
I know
So you have to do like this, you know. And
What happened to the Mauser?
the Mauser is in the Rebbe's library.
Still?
Actually, yeah. Actually, when the Rebbe passed away, we went to the Rebbe's library and we told the librarian, my father gave the Rebbe a Mauser. Maybe you have it. He told us, no, I never heard of such a thing. I don't know what you're talking about. I told him, go check. He came back 2 minutes later with the Mauser in hand. Because it was in the Rebbe assumed that it wasn't in the library all the years. They didn't know about it. Actually, we just got from him, finally, a colored copy, a scan of the whole Mauser. And it's really, you see the whole, it's amazing. From the beginning of the Mauser, every word, everything written, the determination that they took. I think it also gave my father therapy. It gives them a purpose to survive, to live, to write. But it's a Mauser by the Rebbe. My father wanted it should be by the Rebbe. And he wrote a note to the Rebbe that this Mauser, he writes, this Mauser was written in jail in Omsk, Russia, by Moshe ben Rabbi Greenberg. That's it. How would a normal person write such a thing? He would write a story, how I got it, and how risky it was, and how was it this, and how this. He would write 50 pages, tell the Rebbe the story, how great it is. This Mauser was written in Russia, in the jail in Russia, by Moshe ben Rabbi. This size, 3 lines, 3 words. This note taught me more than the whole Mauser. That's how, it was never about them. If he has something he thinks it will bring the Rebbe some joy, he gives it to the Rebbe. That's what he needs the Mauser. He made a copy to himself, but at that time, when he made a copy in 1973, there was no such thing as color copies.
Right.
It didn't exist. But it was a person, and when you see, and what most importantly, something that hit me years ago, my father never had with us long conversations sitting by the dinner table. Guys, I have something to tell you, and I think you should do this, and philosophizing. Yes. He lived a life. He was a living example. And that's how we learned from him. Actually, the things that he told us to do, we didn't. He used to beg us always, should come early to synagogue, to services. We always came late. Always, and always to say, hey, everybody else comes early, why you cannot come early? He'd get upset, didn't help him. Things that he never told us to do, we all did. And I was thinking with the first day of the Shiva, we are 10 boys. We had minions one after the other. Everybody was leading the service separately. We couldn't have 10 minions. We didn't have 100 people visiting for every service. But we had like 5-6 services a day. Every service, morning, afternoon, evening. It was basically, we were praying there for all the times we came late to shul. My father took revenge. The first morning I woke up, we were already praying. I said to myself, I'm not going to survive this. We was every minute, Amen, Kadosh, Kadosh, every minute was like a machine. It was like there are synagogue in Israel, there is 1 million after the other. That's how my house was for these 7 days. It was a million after a million after a million after a million. Then But what I learned from him is, I remember the Rebbe wrote it also to somebody, a teacher in Detroit. He asked the Rebbe, the Rebbe writes him, how I know what he asked. I saw the Rebbe's letter. Short letter. P.S. on your question, how to implant fear of God into the students. He was a teacher. The answer, being a living example. That's it. Not much. Miriam once spoke at a convention, a Chabad convention, and the topic was how to raise our children the way we want, as Chabad rabbis. And she had like 250 people. You know, everybody wants to know the secret, right? How I do it, how I do it. Miriam says, take a paper, write down everything you want your children to do. To pray on time, to do the hang it up in the refrigerator, and start to do it. Then they all started to scream, what are you talking about? I don't have time to pray. Ah, you don't want to do it, you want your children to do it. It doesn't fly. We have to be it, and then we have a chance that maybe our children will do it too. Also not for sure. But we have to be an example. That's the name of the game. It's about, and I tell it, I believe in it very much. And when I see my kids don't do something, I'm not even angry with them, I'm angry with myself. I blame myself. It's because I was not right. If I would be more committed on this topic, they would also do it more.
You have to be a right example, a good example.
Whatever example we are, that's what they give.
Really?
Then we look at our kids and we look in the mirror. We don't look at anything else. It's a mirror. He just do exactly what his father is doing and exactly what his mother is doing. And look, you know, many people say, I will never be like my mother, I'll never be like my father. They end up to be just like the mother. Why? Because that's what they lived on. People think that the schools are nice and the yeshivas are nice. They have many influence, but the real influence, the biggest influence are the parents. And the whole way that we have to do it is being a living example.
You know what
may it be to his neshama.
The last name of interrogator,
Mm-hmm.
Yutkevich?
Yudkin.